Yo, what is up guys, it's Pedro here, and in today's video we have a lot to talk about. So first I'll go over the quarterbacks the Washington Commanders have met with at the NFL Combine so far. Then I'll react to the Washington Commanders planning to exercise Montez Sweat's fifth-year option, and I'll react to some comments that Martin Mayhew made at the Combine today talking about some free agents like Terry McLaurin, J.D. McKissick, Cam Sims, and more. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. I'm so close to 7,000 subscribers, so please help me get there. And also go ahead and follow me on Twitter. I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers on there. Now let's get right into the video. So the NFL Combine is finally here, so we're going to start, and we are starting to hear about teams meeting with certain players, and it's not a huge deal because a lot of these teams, especially with the quarterbacks, meet with most of the top quarterbacks. But eventually, once some teams request for a second and a third meeting, that's when you start to, you can start to really tell how interested a team is in a player. But let's go over so far the quarterbacks that the Washington Commanders have met with, at least that are reported, because there are some that they probably met with, but the player didn't put it out. So the first guy, Matthew Paris from the Washington Times, put this out. He said Desmond Ridder says he's interviewed with 7 to 8 teams at the Combine, including Washington. So Washington is one of 8, and I assume there's going to be more teams, interviewing him in the next couple days, and probably were after his press conference. So we're going to go over in a couple minutes each of these quarterbacks individually real quickly. And then Washington also interviewed Sam Howell. I know a lot of Washington fans like Sam Howell, so that's good for them. They interviewed with him. There wasn't a number on how many teams he interviewed with, but they did interview him. And then the next guy is Matt Corral. They also interviewed him as well. So those are the 3 that are reported. I don't think Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis put it out that they were, that they met with anyone. Desmond Ridder did say that he met with Washington, but the other guys didn't really say anything. So that is that. So Desmond Ridder, I think I like the idea of him. I've watched a couple games of his, and I'm not super impressed yet. Again, only watched a couple games on his film. His inaccuracy, especially short, really concerns me. He is a solid intermediate to deep ball thrower though, and that accuracy though is very concerning, because that's one of the most important traits in a quarterback. He's quick, and he's got some good traits. So I'll talk about more about these quarterbacks in a little bit. I think Desmond Ridder is a guy that's going to go in the second, at the best for him, maybe late first if a team wants to get that 5th-year option. Next guy, Sam Howell. Again, haven't watched too much film on him. I've only watched 1 game on him, but I do like some of the things that he could bring to the table. He's pretty talented. I mean, going into this year, some people thought he would be the number 1 overall pick. Had a little bit of a down year because of the team around him didn't have as much talent, and his offensive line was bad. Lost De'Ami Brown, Javonte Williams, Michael Carter, another receiver, I think Daz Newsome, and some other guys. So he had a little bit of a down year, but who knows? Maybe a team can draft him in the second or late first, and he could catch on. And then you go to Matt Corral, who's probably the 3rd quarterback in this class around that. I think almost all teams have Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis as their number 1 or number 2 QB. Some teams have, Desmond Ridder thrown in there, or even Matt Corral, but I would say most teams have Kenny Pickett and have Malik Willis as their number 1 quarterbacks, number 1 or number 2. But Matt Corral has some things that I like about him. He has a lot of potential. It's just that, the offense that they ran, it's not really a pro-style offense, and it might take him a while to get used to that. He's a solid runner, just like Sam Howell and just like Desmond Ridder. I think out of the 3, I would probably say Desmond Ridder is the best runner. He's the quickest. Sam Howell is, Sam Howell's a good runner, but he's not a great runner, and I don't know how much it'll translate in the NFL. And Matt Corral is a good runner, but he uses a lot of strength, and again, I don't know if that's, he runs people over, and he's not going to be doing that in the NFL because he's going to get hurt. And that's a big thing with Matt Corral as well. The injuries are a big deal. And, that might lower his draft, stock, because Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett, they really haven't had any major injury, history. And Matt Corral's had multiple knee injuries, I believe, or he had a knee injury and also an ankle sprain. And, Carson Strong also has had a ton of injuries as well. So that's kind of the quarterback news. I'll give you guys more updates when we meet with more guys, when we meet with guys multiple times, because that's when you really know that a team is interested in a player. And some teams might not interview with the guy, or they might only interview with the guy once, but they really like him and they don't want to, show their hands. So they might only interview the guy once. So real quick, this is, a move that had to be made, but Washington is planning to exercise Montez Sweat's 5th-year contract option. So, it's a good move. They had to do it. They didn't have to do it, but it's the obvious move. Deadline was May 3rd. It is, March 2nd. So they haven't officially done it yet, but they will soon, I guess. And, it's going to cost us $10 million, $10.54 million for Montez Sweat in not this year, but the year after that. So still going to cost a lot, but not what it would cost if he was on, if he got a deal, it would be 15, 16, 17, 20 plus million dollars a year. It really just depends on what he does this next year, because if he has a breakout year, he likely will be making 18, 20 plus million dollars a year. And if he has a year where he kind of has like 7, 8 sacks, a solid year, then he'll probably get less than that. So we'll see. But Montez Sweat is going to get paid. So being able to have him for another year on a reasonable, salary is good for the Washington Commanders. And I hope, he can have a good year this year. Last year, it was just a ton of things going on with him. He had the virus. He broke his jaw. Sadly, his brother passed away. So many things going on that it was really almost impossible for him to have a good season. So let's hope he can have a good season this year, a bounce back year, get to that double-digit sack number. So let's hope he can do that. So some other things that happened. Sorry, let me scroll up right here. Today, so Martin Mayhew says that Commanders met with Cam Sims' agent yesterday and have meetings set with reps for J.D. McKissic and Bobby McCain. Mayhew says Washington wants all 3 back if deals can be agreed upon. So I would like to bring back Cam Sims, J.D. McKissic, as well, as long as the neck injury checks out. I would love to have him back. He is a crucial piece for our offense. We saw what happened when he went down, Logan Thomas went down, and a few others did. Bobby McCain, I'm okay with bringing him back. It would, it's not essential that the Washington Commanders bring him back, but if they can get him for a reasonable deal, $4-5 million. I don't want to pay. I don't know what the market is for him, but I'm not looking to pay that much for him. If we can get him back on a reasonable deal, I think that's fine, because I think a main issue with our secondary in the first half of the season was that we just didn't have much continuity. We had a bunch of new faces out there. You had Landon Collins, who really only played a little bit in his first year in Jack Del Rio's system. You had William Jackson, Benjamin St. Juste. You had some other guys in there as well. So that's a lot. And Bobby McCain as well. So a lot of new faces there, and it took him a while to mesh. And, if you get a new free safety, if it's an elite guy like Tyrann Mathieu or Marcus Williams, and Marcus Williams probably not elite, but I think he can get there. But if you get one of those guys, they'll probably be able to adjust relatively quickly. But if you get someone that's maybe slightly better than Bobby McCain, it's probably not worth it. Bobby McCain did play solid in the second half of the year, and that is good enough at the free safety position if you have a good D-line like we do. And I don't think the D-line was the issue in the first half of the season. I mean they weren't great, of course. They were not up to what we thought they would be, but the secondary was so bad that the edge rushers and the D linemen didn't have enough time to get to the quarterback, because the quarterback would have a wide open receiver every time. So that's why I think not moving the secondary around too much is a good idea. And then Martin Mayhew also says I pulled up the wrong tweet right here. Let me pull up again. But he said that, the Washington Commanders and they plan to meet with Terry McLaurin's agent this week. He's going into the final year of his rookie contract. So hopefully, Washington and Terry can, their camp can get a deal done before free agency starts. So, the wide receiver market isn't totally, crazy when Terry gets a new deal after the free agency. So hopefully he can do that before then. But if not, let's hope for sure he can get a deal done before the season starts. Because if not, I would be really stressed out going into free agency next year if we don't have Terry, our best player on our team, him and Jonathan Allen, if we don't have him under contract. So that's kind of it for today's video. A bunch of miscellaneous stuff, the meeting with the quarterbacks, the Montez Sweat news, and then kind of Martin Mayhew's comments as well. So tomorrow, not sure what video we'll have, but definitely we'll have something for you guys. Appreciate you guys watching. If you liked the video, hit that like button, turn on those notifications, and subscribe if you guys are new. Peace, guys.